What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So we actually have more shortages than we were previously expecting. Now we know the shortages are continuing with worker shortages. We have those. We've seen them all over the place. We got shortages regarding truckers. That's a huge issue. It's causing a lot more issues. There's a housing shortage, an affordable housing shortage, mind you, that is causing a lot of issues. This is huge, because this is causing many people to not be able to afford the things that they used to be able to afford about 2 to 3 years ago. We also have a food shortage, we have a supply shortage, and now, according to the Biden administration, we have a battery shortage. Yeah, we have a battery shortage, which, according to the Biden administration, this is heavily caused by the war between Russia and Ukraine. Well, that's partially true. I want to address what's going on, because what we are looking at now is the Biden administration is taking sides with one particular person. It's a senator, somebody we talk about all the time here on the channel. It is Senator Joe Manchin. Now, Senator Joe Manchin made it very clear that he didn't support EV. He didn't support going 100% EV and going all electric, because this would put us, the U.S. would be very heavily reliant on other countries, particularly China, because they are the ones that are making batteries. Okay, we're getting lithium from other countries. That's a huge issue. Now, obviously, with the supply issues over in Ukraine, it's causing issues for lithium as well, but I will get to that later on. Here's what you need to understand. In order to combat the battery shortage, the Biden administration says they're going to be providing $3.1 billion to help ease the pain. Now, this money is actually going to be coming from the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill that was passed earlier on this summer. Now, White House officials, they promised that the money that they're going to get, it's going to help domestic manufacturers make more batteries in the United States. They say this will help iron out supply chain issues for components, and this is also going to mitigate some of the environmental impacts from battery manufacturing. So that's what they are saying. Now, the big push all of a sudden, you're probably wondering, why are we going after a battery shortage when there's so many other issues? Here's the reason why. What we are hearing is that the big push for this is to ensure that lithium batteries are being manufactured here in the US. Because again, Senator Joe Manchin, he made it very clear that he is not going, he does not want us going 100% towards EV due to the fact that we will be reliant on other countries for battery production. He's made it very clear. So the money will be made available really in the form of grants to companies looking to build plants here in the US. That's the purpose of this money. It's going to go out, the minimum amount you can get will be $50 million, but in order to get the $50 million, the company has to put up their own $50 million to get the other $50 million grant. So there will be a total of at least $100 million into all these different plants that are built here in the United States. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But if it's like some of the other programs, none of the money is ever going to go out, or it's going to trickle out very slowly. So we'll see what happens there. Now, here's the interesting thing. And what's so interesting about this move is that this is exactly what Senator Joe Manchin wanted. All along, this is what he wanted. This is what he said we needed, that we have to manufacture here in the United States. And this is just another sign that the Biden administration is doing exactly what Senator Joe Manchin has been asking for all along. But this is why there could be new stimulus coming. This is exactly what Senator Joe Manchin asked for. But what else did he ask for? He asked for climate spending to be limited. He said he wants to make sure that our national deficit is reduced, and any new tax revenue that's brought in, he wants 50% of that to go towards deficit reduction. Okay, but then that also means additional tax revenue will be accumulated. It's just, how is that going to be dispersed? And if there's any money left over, we could see some very specific, very targeted social spending packages go through. That's what's interesting about all this, is that there's a lot of speculation that if Senator Joe Manchin is getting all this attention, and he's the one that's the Biden administration is trying to cater to, we could see the Biden administration come out and be like, okay, we're going to give you this and that because that's what you asked for. And all we're asking for is help us out with this. Now, what is this? Well, the big things. The first one is student loans, but that's not something that's going to be done through Congress. That's something that will be done through an executive order. And President Biden has already stated that. But the big things that could be passed through Congress, number one, probably the biggest one, according to most reports, is child tax credit payments. That's the big one. And if Senator Joe Manchin is for that, chances are there'd be more restrictions, there'd be an income limit, there'd probably be a work requirement, there'd be other provisions. So that's the big issue. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to address is Social Security income and the benefits behind that, because I addressed this earlier on today. And I talked about how Senators Sherrod Brown and Rob Portman, they introduced a bill last week that would address the issues surrounding SSI. Now, I want to be very clear on this. What you need to understand is that this is not a new issue. Okay? And if you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about, what happened was, since 1989, the asset limit for an individual doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what status you have or anything. The asset limit is only $2,000. For a couple, it's not $4,000 like it should be. It's actually $3,000. Now, what you need to keep in mind is that this was fine. $2,000 and $3,000 was fine back in 1989. But now that we're seeing record high inflation at 8.5%, the likelihood that inflation is actually going to increase to 9% just next week, this is actually causing a lot of issues. And the issue right now is that Social Security beneficiaries are stuck in poverty because of this 1989 rule. Now, just to give you an idea, what Senators Sherrod Brown and Rob Portman are asking for is, can we increase those asset limits? Instead of $2,000 and $3,000, how about $10,000 and $20,000? Right? $10,000 for an individual, $20,000 for a couple. That would make much more sense, especially when we're going through these tough times of high inflation, where people need to have some type of security and they don't have it. And that's a major issue. Then on top of that, for every dollar you make, make over that, and this is talking about other bills as well, but what they're trying to do is they don't want to have an income limit either. So if you make $1, they don't want you to have to give back 50 cents of your benefits, because technically you're only making 50 cents at the end of it. That's an issue. But just to give you an idea, if we factor in inflation at $2,000 from 1989, we factor in inflation at like 2.5% or whatever it may be, whatever it averages out to, it would only come out to $4,637.16. Now, these two senators are asking for $10,000 and $20,000. So what we could actually get is something go from $2,000 up to $5,000. That would be a very easy thing to do. But some say that it's probably not likely. If we see anything, it's just going to jump to probably $10,000 and $20,000 because it's not expected to change, and lawmakers aren't going to want to change this rule probably for another 10 to 20 years. So they're kind of just looking and projecting into the future, and that's what we could see. So the reason why I wanted to give you this little update on this is because right now the big question mark is, how can lawmakers provide for the American people? What can they do? How can they provide additional support? What options are there? This is one of the options. This is going to help people that are collecting SSI. And so that's, again, one of the issues is lawmakers are looking at specific groups of people, trying to target these people right now that we're seeing all these additional problems. So as we start to see these problems go away, these problems resolve themselves, or lawmakers come out and pass a bill that helps and provides benefits to the American people, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take time. It's probably going to take money, but it's going to take Congress to act in a bipartisan way. And right now, that's not what they're doing. So that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.